Welcome to another Telltale Books video. I'm Greg, and I'm going to continue my Jack Vance series in this video with Phalid's Fate, the third published work by Jack Vance, according to my research into his bibliography, which may or may not be 100% correct. But Phalid's Fate is a novelette that Vance published in the December 1946 issue of Thrilling Wonder Stories, and that's where I read it. I have a copy of that right here with an Earl Berge cover that has nothing to do with Phalid's Fate. It illustrates, I believe, I Am Eden by Henry Kuttner. Not sure because I haven't read the rest of the issue yet, but Phalid's Fate is in this issue. Kind of like Earl Berge as an artist, but he's that typical pulp artist that basically did pinups for everything. That was editorial and commercial direction, not necessarily the beliefs of the artist. So Phalid's Fate is it's a space opera story, and it's as simple as what you would think a magazine called Thrilling Wonder Stories with a pinup girl on the cover in a spacesuit would be. So you have the humans and you have the Phalids. The Phalids are an insectoid alien race, and they're at war. And one of the soldiers, Ratch, he gets seriously wounded and he's nearly dead. They do everything they can to save him, but ultimately the only way they can keep him going is to transplant his brain into some other body. And you know, the science here is kind of dopey, but the doctors say that his brain, if they try to transplant it into another human body, it wouldn't work, and the only way they can do it is to transplant it into the body of a dead Phalid soldier that they had captured. So they do that. They put his brain into the Phalid body, and well, really they do this with the purpose of sending Ratch to the Phalids to, you know, claim that he had been captured by the humans, and the Phalids were now rescuing him and bring him back to their home planet, because the human beings want to find out where that planet is. They don't know where the Phalids come from, where their home planet is, and they want to be able to attack it and stop the Phalids from continuing the war against humanity. So he does this. They take an Earth ship, and as soon as they get close to a Phalid ship, all the rest of the Earth people get in the escape pods and get off the ship and head away, as if they're afraid, leaving Ratch in his Phalid body, chained up on the ship, for the Phalids to rescue him. And they do, and they take him back to their planet, and the rest of the story is all about exploring Phalid behavior and their planet and their specific alien civilization, which is fascinating. That's the best part of the story. The rest of the story is pretty standard space opera plot, complete with a woman that has to be rescued. Very typical of 1946 thrilling wonder, startling planet stories type fiction. I mean, Vance does a good job with that standard sort of story, but what makes this story more interesting than a lot of the fiction that was published at that time is the exploration of the Phalid world and their specific society and biology, because it's tied in with this forest that the Phalids all fear. Nothing like any kind of philosophical content or, you know, political content or anything more to make this story more literate. It's just fun space opera adventure done the old time pulp way. And Vance was definitely one of the best practitioners of this type of story, but they tend to fall kind of flat these days because you don't have strong women in most of these stories. So most of you women readers are not going to like this, because it's not going to fit with your feminist sensibilities. Even the male characters, though, are kind of flat. They're not really well-rounded characters. And the plot itself is pretty basic. So there's not a whole lot for the story to go on except the cool world building. And Vance does elevate that above what a lot of his contemporaries did and make the story enjoyable from that standpoint. So I recommend this to people who like the old time space opera. If you're somebody who likes the Skylark of Space or Triplanetary, the Lensman series, if you're someone who likes Edmund Hamilton style space operas, Leigh Brackett style space operas from the 1940s, if you like that sort of thing, Phalid's Fate is probably going to be enjoyable to you, if not one of your most favorite stories. Who knows, it might be one of your all-time favorites if you read it, if you like that sort of thing. A lot of readers today want something a little more sophisticated, and that's a good thing, but don't write this off completely. Understand the era, understand the market, and enjoy it on that level if you're willing to take a shot at this. Because Jack Vance would develop to become one of the most influential in more of the science fantasy genre, which has a lot to do with a lot of books being written today. So he has had a very long influence on the genre, and I think it's important to read some of Vance's work, if maybe not his earliest work like I'm doing. Like I say, this is only his third professional sale. So his work was destined to improve after this story was written. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to getting into the really mature Jack Vance stories. And as I've been saying, starting this year, I'm going to try and get caught up. I'm doing a deep dive into the magazines, starting with Weird Tales, because Weird Tales comes before all the other genre magazines. Just genre magazines, and really just science fiction, fantasy, horror. I'm not going to get into all the mystery magazines and Western magazines and war magazines and men's adventure magazine. That's just too much. I'll never ever make a dent in any of that. But I'm going through all the science fiction, fantasy, horror magazines, starting with Weird Tales because it came first. And right now I'm still in that first year of Weird Tales. So I've got a very, very long way before I ever get caught up to where Jack Vance started writing. And I don't want to put Jack Vance off for 20 years before I get back to his stories. Hopefully it won't be that long before I get to 1946, but I do fear that it would be that long if I actually did that. So I will be reading more Jack Vance before I catch up in the magazines. And so his fourth story, which will be coming up sometime, possibly sometime this year, is I'll Build Your Dream Castle, which was published in Astounding Science Fiction in September of 1947. And it's a good thing I'm going to put this off for a while because I don't even have a copy of this story. Don't have that issue of Astounding. I don't have any collections with the story, and I need to do some research and track this one down. But that'll be my next Jack Vance, his fourth published story, I'll Build Your Dream Castle. So, have you ever read Phalid's Fate? If so, Let me know what you think of this story. Let me know your take on the story. I've been getting some really good comments lately, giving me insights into stuff that I'm not catching when I read them. Admittedly, I read pretty quick. Read the stories as quickly as I can. I've got tons of other stuff I'm reading at the same time. Usually, I got 5, 6 books that I'm doing silent. Usually I got like 5, 6 short stories that I read all in one evening, and unfortunately my mind is not enough of a steel trap to remember all the details about every story or catch every little nuance that's going on. So your comments are really valuable because you are catching those things and you're putting it in the comments, and I love that. So keep going, keep putting those comments in there. Those comments, other types of comments, not so much, but those comments I want to hear it. I want to hear your thoughts on Phalid's fate and early Jack Vance in general if you want. Otherwise, come back for more. I'll build your dream castle. Not sure exactly when, but I'm going to get to that one next in the Jack Vance series, and all the other magazines and authors and novels and topics that we discuss, poetry readings that we do here on Telltale Books.